Oh, it's hot. No, I had a red one, but it's next. Yeah. Yeah, you guys get put yourself out there. Just say what I'm doing. Yep. Put yourself out there and do the challenge and grow.
So about 10 to 6 we'll be gathering all the candidates and get that talk about it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. It'll be on the phone, right? It'll be on the phone.
Yeah, you go to industries.com, you'll walk there. But again, you're welcome to stay, leave, wherever you want to go. So the forum will last about 30 to 45 minutes each. So George will have to use that for race as well. I was telling you they are probably around 7:30-ish, probably when they're starting. So Right. Yeah, I keep it under 45 at least 30. So. All right.
Okay, Eric. How you doing? Good to watch this first part.
Yeah, absolutely. You're free to stay. We're going to gather about 10 till. In fact, go through the rules, and you're free to stay. Maybe 30 to 45 minutes forum. So that kind of gives you an idea.
And the set views behind something just so they know.
Yeah, I didn't know, so I couldn't remember which race was first, so I didn't want to set them up.
Yeah, assessor is last. So
I was thinking use water, I didn't know where you were sitting, because water is not bad for. I know, but I mean, like, I didn't know where you were going to sit, so I didn't know what you were.
Thank you.
No, I was just, no, I never know where you were going to sit, so I didn't try to.
Good, I guess.
So we're still missing one, but I'm going to say we're going to go ahead. And so that way we can be ready on the spot. So, thank you first of all for all coming. Our order will again be case, so you're not always getting the questions first. If you wish to rebut something that your opponent said, you'll have the opportunity. I may ask a follow-up question if you're not understanding what you're saying. The microphones are live, okay? So we had some problems last time with folks turning them on and off. Just keep them on. That way, folks who are listening either on TV or on our website can hear. Anything I'm missing?
That was the main thing. I know it's not really kind of turn it off. I think that was leave it on and everything else. Pretty simple. So don't have any more than this.
Becca will be the timekeeper. So she has times that will kind of work. You have 10 seconds and when your time's up. She also has ones that speak up. So that way, we don't think people can hear you. That way you have a reminder to speak closer to the microphone or the computer.
Did not have to use it on.
Okay. So we'll start with Eastern District. We're going to draw lots now. That will determine who gets the first opening statement, and then it's just a rotation after that. Okay. Yeah, you guys want to come up and do your drawing?
There you go.
You got the one.
So, there you go.
All right. So we'll go to Western next. I have not mentioned. Chris said he would not be here at a family matter come up. So Terry will draw, and then when Gary will so, I heard.
Here, this is.
We're here.
Figure out what this is.
This is fine. All right. So it's up.
There's one on mine, probably.
Yeah.
There's all of that,
Okay, any questions for this folks?
Are you gonna stump us with anything?
That's my goal.
Can't get email with all the questions?
Don't ask me what my name is.
I know. I hope I can remember your name. Whether I can't take any notes, you'll have a notepad up there if you want to make some notes as far as something you want to respond to in your opponent said. Okay. All right, so we're going to start promptly at 6, so we'll start with Eastern District up there. And go from there. We're going to start the whole thing with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll just jump into it.
Gary, I have a question. Are we going to be sitting on opposite sides?
For assessor, we'll probably, we'll have.
They're like ours, they do. Have you accidentally hit them before?
No, I did. I was warned about it when I was pro tem.
Be careful.
Gives a whole different meaning to how do you know if a politician is lying, his lips are moving. I'm just trying to interrupt you while you're writing so you can't remember everything.
Tell you what, as we wait, let's go ahead and stand. We'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to tonight's forums for candidates seeking contested Cole County seats in the August 4th primary election. I'm Gary Castor, Managing Editor of the Jefferson City News Tribune, and I'll serve as moderator of tonight's forum. I want to take this opportunity to thank the city and the council for the use of the council chambers for us to hold these forums here, as well as JCTV for taping and airing the forums. We're also streaming these forums on newstribune.com. Tonight, our first forum will feature candidates for Eastern District County Commissioner. That forum will be followed by forums for Western District County Commissioner and County Assessor. Prior to tonight, the candidates were advised the rules of the forum, which will include opening statements, general questions for the candidates, and then closing statements. Candidates will be given 1 minute for an opening statement. As we begin the questions, the candidates will have then 2 minutes to respond to each question. Rebecca Martin, News Tribune's city editor, will serve as timekeeper tonight for the responses. None of the questions were shared with the candidates beforehand. During the course of the forum, I may ask a candidate a follow-up question in hopes of getting a clear understanding of his stance. A candidate may also be granted time to respond or to rebut an answer from a previous question. So now let's get started. Let me introduce the candidates for Eastern District Commissioner. To my left is incumbent Jeff Helsher, serving his 12th year as Eastern District Commissioner. He's also owner of Helsher Enterprises, a construction and remodeling business, and is a former St. Thomas Council member. To my right is Rick Mihalovich, who served 8 years on the Jefferson City Council. He's formerly a professor and dean at State Technical College, and he's owner of Missouri Hunting and Outdoor Adventures. No Democratic candidates filed for this position, so the winner of the Republican primary is virtually assured of election in November. So we'll begin now with our opening statements, and we'll begin with Jeff.
Okay, I'm Jeff Helsher, and as you mentioned, I own Helsher Enterprises since 2002. I've also got my real estate sales and broker's license since 2006. I've got 2 sons. Dylan's a graduate of University of Missouri St. Louis, and Colton, my younger son's a junior at Missouri Valley. My fiance Kathy and her kids and grandkids as well. I'm just been a member of a lot of civic organizations, involved with the community a lot, including the Jefferson City Area Board of Realtors, Home Builders Association, East Side Business Association, Lions Club, Knights of Columbus, just to name a few. I'm very proactive with our youth. I've been involved with coaching ball since my boys were small. I was an assistant football coach at Blair Oaks for a couple of years, and continue to do a scholarship every year. I just wanted to stay involved with leadership. I've always been proactive in leadership activities, and I want to continue to do so.
Okay, thank you. Rick?
Hi, I'm Rick Mihalovich, Republican candidate for Eastern District Commissioner, Cole County. And my background is, has been mentioned a little bit, is I just retired from State Technical College after 26 years. I manage a cow-calf operation and have a hunting business, and in my tenure in work, I used to be a vocational ag teacher and FFA advisor, and currently a 4-H certified volunteer. My experience in the community is a member of the St. Joseph Cathedral Church. I'm a member of the Host Lions, members of the business associations, East Side, Downtown, and South Side Business Association, and I'm current chair of the Heartland Port Authority of Central Missouri. I've been married for 35 years to my wife Connie, and we have 2 adult sons. I have advanced degrees in education and a bachelor's degree in agriculture from the University of Missouri.
Thank you, Rick. All right, so let's get started with our first questions. We'll start with Rick. The COVID-19 pandemic will likely have a long-term effect on the county's budget. Should the county need to make cuts due to declines in revenues, how would you decide where to make the cuts and what would be your priorities?
Well, first of all, the county is kind of a pretty good position somewhat because years ago, the voters passed a use tax, which would allow some of the taxes to be coming back to the county that would have been lost through local businesses, would have been gained through internet purchases. So I don't know that the county has yet to see a drop, and as a matter of fact, we've had an increase. So if there should be a downturn, you have fund balances to protect yourself from those kinds of downturns. Just as when I was a city finance director, we put together a financial policy that said we'll maintain 17%, and that 17% was used for a rainy day fund. And should we go below that 17%, we were directed the city administrator to make plans to get us back up to that amount. So those are the kinds of protections you put in place to not to prevent big changes like having staff layoffs and the like. I think the first thing you look at is in terms of the priorities of the county, which I think is roads and bridges and public safety and those critical functions. And then you have to look at your vacancies, and you would start by might not replacing those vacancies until such time as you have the money, but that would be the low-hanging fruit. I would say that I'm a big supporter of our public safety, and I think we should fund those to the amount necessary for them to do the job as well as our economic development efforts and those kinds of functions.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, same question.
Simply put, the employee positions that are not filled currently would probably stay open. You heard that part already. You'd have to put off purchases that you maybe had intended on making, and we've already basically talked about that, so we're going to kind of slow down on some stuff and see what happens with the sales tax. We do have healthy reserves, but if something happens, we'd have to make the necessary cuts. And you never want to talk about layoffs, but if you have to do it, you have to have somebody up there in office that's going to be willing to make that decision and do that.
Okay, thank you. Were you finished, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, next question. We're going to talk about economic development. So, Jeff, in 2018, the county ended its economic development contract with the Jefferson City Area Chamber of Commerce and hired its own consultant. How would you assess the results of that decision? And going forward, what should be the county's economic development strategy?
I think the assessment of it so far is still out there. I wanted to give it a couple of years to see what happens. I think we need to take a look at it again and possibly look at independent parties doing the economic development. I think the Chamber has looked at doing something like that, and as unpopular as our decision was with certain people, I think that it has come around, and the Chamber did take a look in the mirror to make some decisions and maybe make some changes and see what needed to be done. They're talking about things and trying to, I guess, break off and do economic development in a different way. And, once they make some kind of choice like that, then we can decide from there.
Can you give me a little bit more explanation as to the independent look at it? What do you mean by that?
Well, you got people that don't necessarily like the Chamber, and you got people that don't necessarily like our guys, so maybe we need to find somebody out there that's in the middle and can maybe build a relationship between the two of them. Some people talk about not having too many silos doing different things, but sometimes you need to have different views, and people looking at things differently.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Rick?
Well, that's a big issue with me with regard to the direction that the county commission took in terms of its partnership with the city has been long-standing, and to just all of a sudden pull the rug out from underneath us and not try to work with us to improve the situation or change the situation, because independently we can't do it, but together we can make those kinds of changes. So when I first got on the council, I made a motion to reduce the amount of money to the Chamber Economic Development, because we needed to I think, get their attention and to start working with them. Now, when I was not pleased with things that the Chamber was doing, I helped implement performance measures for their contract. So we renewed their contract and put performance measures in there. And then we implemented monthly meetings to keep in touch with what they were doing. I'm for a fresh look at economic development. I think the opportunity now exists with the current executive director retiring, and we have an interim president now, so I don't know that it needs to be with the chamber, but we do need economic development. And lobbying is not economic development. I mean, occasionally you have an issue to lobby for that might particularly help you, but spending the kind of money we did, $120,000 for a lobbyist firm from Dubuque, Iowa, didn't appear to be a good decision in my book.
Okay, Rick, let me follow up with both of you then. So let's talk about this as far as how important is it that the city and the county are walking together down this path, or should they diverge? What are the elements that should dictate that the two are going together? What is the economic development strategy for Jefferson City, Cole County? We'll start with Jeff.
Well, I'm just going to kind of rebut on the first thing. There was no all of a sudden change, because we had demonstrated and had meetings with the chamber about that we were not happy with their performance, and I would love to see the performance measures and anything that says that they have met anything. We didn't see it, and that's why we made the change. We had closed session meetings with the Chamber of Commerce, contract discussion, and that wasn't privy to everybody, but it was never all of a sudden. As far as working with the city's part of the county, so absolutely we want to do something together. Personally, I think we need to look more at trying to keep existing businesses here, trying to figure out how to take care of our youth and keep them wanting to stay here, give them a reason to stay here. I think we're focused a lot of times on big industries and trying to get them in here. So I think we need to try to keep what we have here, help them to grow, give people a reason to stay here, and grow that way.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Rick?
Well, when the county, the city, the state, the Chamber of Commerce all get together, we have a thing called a Salute to America, 4th of July. Normal years, it's one of the best. It shows you what you can do when you all get together. It's a hard job, at best, even to get something done with cooperation. And it's impossible without us working together. So it's imperative we all get together on the same page. And I'm going to look at a revised, renewed, independent economic development effort. And I do challenge, these performance measures that he would like to look at. I would challenge those performance measures put forth by their lobbyist and their economic development as having any kind of results that we can point to. So I believe the performance of your contracts are important, and we need to hold people accountable, and I think we did a pretty good job of that. But we definitely got to work together.
Okay. Thank you, Rick. All right, so let's go to our next question. It's going to center around growth. So we'll start with Rick. When talking about economic development, the goal is often characterized as growth. How would you define the growth that is achievable in Cole County in the next 5 years?
Well, growth comes in lots of different ways. In a recent study, the largest community in Cole County, Jefferson City, was identified as one of the 5th best places to start a business. So that's a good start, and we got to create the kind of atmosphere for growth, and that means infrastructure, roads, good roads. We need other infrastructure that is necessary, maybe even at some point that's not popular all the time, but incentives that allow people to invest in our communities. One of the key things about infrastructure that we just learned, or we're learning more and more, is the lack of significant broadband technology for rural parts of the county. That is a very critical thing to spur growth. Now, the USDA, a group, Whisper, got a grant to work with some parts of Cole County, and they're making limited progress. The governor just announced another effort through economic development, which I think maybe we can piggyback on and do something. But I think I'd have to focus on rural broadband, and even broadband in the city of Jefferson as a way to spur the kinds of economic development that needs to occur. And as a chair of the Port Authority, I still believe we have lots of opportunities there. It's not going to be tomorrow, but we're making progress. The governor signed. We have land, or will have land, and we have a NEPA study going on. So the fiscal impact of that could be very, very large. And so I think the county, the city, needs to continue to support those kinds of efforts and new ideas. We can't just think of the things we've been thinking about in the past. We got to adopt to new strategies.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Jeff, same question.
So what are you talking about as far as growth, as far as growing the economy or growing the population or growing businesses, or?
That's the question I'm asking you. How would you define growth? What's achievable growth for Cole County?
Okay.
It can be population, it can be economic development.
Okay. Well, it's kind of funny around here because you talk about growth, and if you're in touch with people around here, they don't really want to grow. We don't want to be Columbia, Missouri. If you want to be Columbia, you can drive 30 miles north and you're there. I think as far as growing, I think we need to look at maybe sports venues, and I think that's an economic development growth we can look at, bring people in here. I've chased my kids all over Missouri and different states at ball tournaments. I know a lot of other people that do the same thing, and we're taking our money and spending it in other places where we can bring people in here and we can get their tax money and use it to help us with some of the things that, like the infrastructure that was previously mentioned. We've got the sales tax on the capital improvements, and that can be benefit from it as well. So in that instance, that's kind of where I see it going. You got the port coming down the road, possibly. You hear a lot of talk about it too, but there's really not been any private industries that have really acted interested in it. The Port Authority Board, really, there's nothing they've really done besides gotten the land signed over. We need to get some more private interest in that, private industry interested into it and possibly financing. So that's another thing. The towns outside of Jefferson City they are growing. A lot of people are moving because I guess you can get out there, enjoy a smaller school, and still be close to the amenities of Jefferson City. So, maybe see what's going on out there, and that's one way to grow as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, let's go to the next question, which is going to be about courthouse space. So Jeff, we'll start with you. How would you address the space issues the county will face with the addition of a new courtroom?
I think at some point we're going to have to look at the old jail and revisit that and possibly take it down and build there'll be another floor. There was a plan for another courtroom in there. We've got the Adams Street building. We could possibly move the commission chambers over there and use the commission chambers as a small courtroom. We've looked at some different ideas, and it's going to happen when the judge gets here, the way it sounds.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Rick, same question.
Well, I would support doing something with the old jail, and I would hope that we don't have to tear it down to do that. I would also think that by now we should have had somewhat of a plan in place, knowing that we have this additional judge coming. The good news is that the city of Jefferson has a brand-new municipal court that they could provide overflow space, and I've heard that the judges can move their dockets in a way that they can make it work for a period of time, but I would have hoped by now we'd already had a kind of a plan in place to accommodate the extra judge.
Okay. Thank you, Rick. Let's talk about broadband. We were talking about that earlier. So Rick, we'll start with you. How big of an issue do you believe expansion of broadband is for Cole County? And what could you as a commissioner do to improve broadband access?
Well, the problem has been described by Superintendent Jones as really a limiting factor for him to deliver the education services to the Blair Oaks citizens and Blair Oaks students and the Wardsville residents. The same applies in Taos and the other communities. So what can we do? Well, first of all, I have a technical background, so I understand the language of some of the technical language. We really need to look at the new technologies. It's possible that through new small cell technology and towers, we can accommodate some of the leaps we need to make over the terrain that currently is prohibitive in terms of cost to get the infrastructure out there in the rural parts of the county. So I've been researching Whisper, who got a USDA grant level 2 to start its deployment of an infrastructure in southern Cole County, and I'm not pleased with their progress, and I'm not sure what's holding it up, but I would definitely look and see where they're at and what the limitations are in terms of their grant. The second thing that we need to look at is what the governor just announced with the plan for rural broadband, and that plan talks about entities being eligible to be sponsors for the money. So I would think that we would pull together some interested folks and see if there's an entity there that would like to share. And I believe one of the players certainly could be Three Rivers Electric, which probably has most of that, if not all that area, much like Como has done over on the west of us. So my strategy would be just that, is to get the people together, to look at the grant opportunities, to look at what the state's doing, and see if we can't improve.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Jeff, same question.
I think that there's a lot of great ideas there. It's just, how do you pay for it? That's the bottom line. How do you pay for all this? And it comes down to the Bank of Coal. A lot of times they keep coming to us wanting more money. You do have to tell some people no on certain things. So I really don't know what our role in that will be, other than to try to facilitate anything they want to try to do with it. I know Como Connect is something that's gathering a little bit of traction in southern Cole County. I don't know if it's for sure going to happen. I know it takes a lot of money to do this stuff, and that's why it's not happening overnight. So they want to go where they can serve more people, and when you get out to the rural areas, you just don't have as many people that you're going to be able to serve, and basically to pay the bills. So, I mean, I don't have a good answer. I just don't have an open checkbook for it either, so.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Let's talk about what challenges the county may face in the next year. So Jeff, I'll start with you. What's the biggest challenge you believe Cole County faces in the next year?
Just trying to keep up with technology right now. Seems like a lot of the things we're spending money on is technology related. We'll see where the numbers go with the COVID and sales tax. Right now it's actually been going up, and I've had conversations where I said I didn't think it was going to be hurt too bad, because a lot of people are staying home instead of traveling to the tournaments like I was speaking of earlier, and using that money to do stuff around the house. And in the construction business, I've seen a lot of that. And last month, we saw that the tax rates were up really high. I don't expect that to stay that way, because it usually has a little bit of a leveling off in what we call normal years. So we'll see what happens with that. Trying to maintain salaries for our employees and to keep them a decent salary to keep the employees.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Rick, same question?
I think challenges is always based on your largest budgeted item, and that's personnel, keeping good personnel. So it gets to be, job one is to understand that the needs of personnel and to assess whether or not we are keeping and maintaining the workforce that makes the county operate. The other challenges, I think, is always economic development, bringing new industries in, bringing industries that fit our community. I disagree that we have made some progress on the port, and we have had discussions with folks that are interested in investing in the port private side, and yet there's not really anything on paper. Until you get land, there's not much they can invest in. So we're I think, going at a pretty good speed, given that we start out with a blank sheet of paper. The several other challenges has to do with moving forward in this COVID pandemic world. I don't know how we'll have to change services to meet the needs under these circumstances. How we deal with public is always important, and how we deal with public under these conditions will have to be evaluated and continue to operate our county despite the kind of limitations or the threats posed by COVID.
Okay, thank you, Rick. So our next question will start with Rick. It's going to be about purchasing methods. So the county's recently come under some criticism for using cooperative pricing agreements rather than sealed bids from vendors for purchases of county ambulances. How do you believe the county should handle such purchases?
Well, you know, I've been in the position of purchasing for years in my work at State Tech and other, and I've never had a problem with bidding. And to tell you the truth, I didn't really care for the cooperative purchases that the state offered. Maybe I wasn't, I just seemed to be able to get more tailored to what I needed. And I was never challenged on any of my outcomes and my evaluations. And wasn't overly costly. It was a little bit more trouble, but I felt I had more control. And so I really believe in the bidding process, and I don't know that I have the full confidence as cooperative bidding. I have to look at that. I do know that the city of Jefferson uses it somewhat, or a cooperative bidding for fire. It may work better in certain areas than others, but I don't see why you couldn't go out for bids, whether it be ambulances and or any other things. I do know there's a cost associated with advertising and informing people, but that's what we do. That's what our departments are supposed to do. So I do believe that we need to reevaluate our purchasing to ensure we're in line with state statute and be sure that we have the policies in place that protect the commission and protect the citizens.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Jeff, same question.
The purchasing process, it is fair, and cooperative procurement, the state participates in it, counties can participate in it, and a lot of people do, and it is a cost-saving measure. And in this instance with the ambulance purchase, both of the agencies were contacted. Both of them had the opportunity to bring us their bid. There is, I have got it in my prepared notes, but we weren't allowed to bring them along. I believe it's chapter 34. It's a state purchasing chapter, and it talks about you have to give 10% difference, or consider that, for United States made products, and if you don't, there's really no remedy for it or any punishment or anything. So the only reason I know about it is because it was brought up after we made the purchase of the ambulance, and so we went and looked at it, and in order to be in compliance with it, we added a line into our purchasing agreement that Cole County will consider purchasing United States made products. So we are in compliance with the state statute. We had usually gone off, there's a county statute that talks about purchasing, so that's what we were going off of. This obscure rule was in a state rule, and like I said, it was brought up after the fact, and we fixed it, so we are in compliance. They had the opportunity to bid it, and even if the 10% was there, they brought us a bid that did not meet specs. Their own bid specified they did not meet specs. I'm in construction. If you ask me to come and give you a bid for a 3-bedroom home, and I give you a bid for a 2-bedroom home, I mean, are you going to take that bid? So they did not meet specs. The other company did, and that's why they were awarded the bid, because they were the best and lowest price, lowest or best price.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. All right, so the next question, we'll start with Jeff. So Jeff, I'm sure you've been out campaigning door to door. What are the concerns that the public has raised to you, and how would you address that, let's say that top concern that they've raised?
It's about what's going on with the ambulance. It's like that's all we do right now, or is that all we do is buy ambulances, because that's what's in the news. We've had some stormwater issues with this big rain we had inside the city limits. Working with our emergency services manager and trying to find if there's some help for some of the people that were affected by this big flash flood. They've talked about some of the flooding and what can they do to fix it, and that's outside the city. We can do that, but I think it's going to be a city thing too as well. They're going to have to deal with stormwater, and that's a big issue for the county as well. So stormwater and this ambulance thing, and kind of the COVID thing, but I don't think anybody's real afraid of that right now. They're just kind of living life.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Rick, same question.
Well, I've been out to most all of the Cook County, in parts of the Taos and Wardsville area, and there are concerns out there. I think people understand that buying local is real important, and it feeds back into the community in so many different ways, that saving a less than 10% on a purchase violates state statute and certainly violates common sense in terms of how you would grow an economy. You asked that question earlier, is buy local, support local. These are our bread and butter. This is what makes us happy. It fuels everything we do. And even the purchase of even Osage Industries has employees that are living here in Cole County that shop in our stores, that sales tax that goes to those communities. So it falls on the face of a lot of common sense, and I think that we need to buy local, and people understand that and are concerned about that. Broadband has been brought up. That has been brought up. There's some people that I've ran into that have concern about pavement, and they have a gravel road and they want it paved, and they said that the commission promised that all roads in the county would be paved in the future. So that's an issue that I need to look into, is promises made should be promises kept, unless there are circumstances that I'm not aware of at this point. So those are the three big ones, and I just have to say this, I think that they understand Jeff's contribution, and but yet a lot of people agree that 12 years is long enough and 16 is too long.
Okay, thank you, Rick. So we're going to go to closing statements now, gentlemen. So we'll start with Rick.
Well, I want to represent you, the voters of Cobb County, and to move our county forward. I bring leadership, informed decision-making, and fiscal responsibility. Currently, we have a cloud overhanging our courthouse. And that cloud has to do with the purchases of these ambulances from a foreign source. I would not give up. And in that controversy of having the FBI and the Highway Patrol, we have these commissioners out that are telling stories and accusing people of wrongdoing. I stand by local businesses, and I do not give up my responsibility and my fiscal oversight to an EMS director that does not live in this county and makes foreign purchases. There's a cloud overhanging our economic development. Jeff Helsher knowingly hired a person who would smuggle drugs in our courthouse, in our jailhouse, and he has knowingly hired and spent $120,000 on that. I hope that I can join your trust, give you your trust, and I appreciate your vote on August the 4th. Thank you.
Jeff?
So, I'm just going to talk about myself here. I've been a lifelong resident. I've been a good Republican all my life. I've built relationships. I've built trust. I've used a lot of common sense. I've got character, and I'm committed to the job. The relationships that I've built, I will continue to work on and to protect our capital improvement sales tax and how it's spent. I'm in touch with people, contrary to what's been said, and I've got integrity. And at the end of the day, that's what I always plan to leave with, is my integrity. And I make my decisions based on the information that I'm given, and I don't do it to line the pockets of others. So thank you, and I appreciate your vote on August 4th.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Jim, I appreciate your participation in this forum. I would encourage voters in the Eastern District to take this race seriously and to go out and vote on August 4th. We're going to take a break here for a few minutes, and then we'll begin again with the Western District Commission forum. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Stuff for you, Gary.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it took all I had. Whose water is this? Is this ours or is that?
Yeah, that's fresh.
Okay,
Well,
I was gonna say, I'm not gonna touch that if that was somebody else's, so. How close do we really need to sit here to kind of talk here? I don't like this mask.
well,
I
she's got-
can't.
I can hear you well.
Touching me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you,
All right.
if that matters.
All right, everybody in here is gonna give me $10 before they leave. See, y'all heard me. Nobody did this, though. Everybody just laughed. We're finally gonna get to close on last store next Friday.
Excelsior.
Yeah, get them done, get them done, get them going.
Welcome to tonight's candidate forum for Western District County Commissioner. Prior to tonight, the candidates were advised the rules of the forum. They will be given 1 minute for an opening statement, and then I will begin asking a series of questions of the candidates. And now let me introduce the candidates for tonight's forums. There are 3 Republicans seeking this race. We'll start first of all with the gentleman on my left, Gary Bimbum. He operates a cattle farm in Centertown, having previously owned a heating and cooling business and convenience stores. To my right is Harry Otto, a public accountant, having worked many years with the Missouri Department of Revenue as a legislative tax fiscal analyst for the General Assembly and legislative director for Missouri Department of Economic Development. The third candidate is incumbent Chris Shepperly. He's serving his second term as Western District Commissioner. He's also owner of All Seasons Landscaping and Construction. Chris has announced he would not be able to be here tonight for this forum. No Democratic candidates filed for this position, so the winner of this Republican primary is virtually assured of election in November. So we're going to begin with our opening statements, and we'll start with Gary.
Very good. My name is Gary Bimbum, 56 years old, live in Centertown, Missouri. Just to clarify, I do have one convenience store in Meda, Missouri that I lease for 5 years that I don't have to go to on a daily basis. And a lot hinges on this race, whether I continue with a small one-man heating cooling shop that I have. If I win, I will probably retire from that. I want to be a voice for Cole County, and I think that Cole County it's time for a change because we have a lot of issues going on right now and a lot of animosity. I am not running against either one of my opponents. I consider Harry and Chris both my friends, and I'm running for the office. And I want to be the best candidate for Cole County. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Harry.
I began looking at this race about 2 years ago. Besides my career in public accounting, I did a 52-month stint as deputy state auditor, and during that period of time, I worked on 80 performance audits of 80 Missouri counties, as well as looked at the financial statement audits. So I looked at this position with the eye of a performance-type audit, and I saw issues that needed to be addressed. I saw violations of Chapter 34, the purchasing statute. I saw violations of Chapter 49, which says simply, no commissioner shall be a party to a contract with the county, directly or indirectly. I saw sunshine violations. Matter of fact, I've done 13 requests of records to the Cole County clerk, who is very responsive, but sometimes they just don't exist and he can't furnish them. And part of the reason he can't furnish them is because the commissioners have not done a good job in closed session when they're required to release votes. They just don't have the information.
Okay. Thank you, Harry. All right, so let's start with our first question. We're going to start with economic development. So Harry, in 2018, the county ended its economic development contract with the Jefferson City Area Chamber of Commerce and hired its own consultant. How would you assess the results of that decision? And going forward, what should be the county's economic development strategy?
The results is an unknown. I've watched the meetings where the new consultants have appeared and reported the status of things. I haven't seen any really spectacular results. I haven't seen much results at all. There's a lot of talk about what they're working on, but really nothing can be penned in as we won this one. So my biggest problem with what happened is we're divorced from the city now. I don't think that the city could be successful if the county's not, and the county if the city's not. I think they have to be a combined effort. Whoever is selected needs to serve both parties. And if I use the analogy of 2 different economic directors, it's like having 2 dentists, one for your upper teeth and one for your lower, and the bite's not going to match, and each dentist will be pointing to the other dentist as the problem.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Same question, Gary.
The economic development in Cole County and Jefferson City should be one entity. Jefferson City is a city in Cole County, just as Russellville, St. Martin, Centertown. To make everything work, it needs to be basically a marriage of the two districts, two areas. So if they can't work together, that makes, as Harry said, that makes both sides argue. So if we could combine and put funds together. But on that same note, economic development, right now with the pandemic going on, we need to support our local businesses and try to help them and make them grow, let them grow, bring them back to work more than anything. Put our current people that are out of work back to work. That to me would be a growth, economic development growth. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to pause for a second, a little housekeeping. So just to remind you, bring the microphone close to you so that we can, so obviously we have folks who are listening, the candidates are really the only ones in the chambers here, so we want to be sensitive that we can make sure that folks at home can hear. So,
Very good.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about economic development and just growth as a goal. So when talking about economic development, the goal is often characterized as growth. Gary, how would you define the growth that is achievable for Cole County in the next 5 years?
The city of Jefferson doesn't have a lot of extra room for growth. We've got the Algoa area, and then we've got some area behind the fairgrounds, and then there's a few smaller properties that are around that can be used for bigger factories type things. But Jefferson City, for it to grow, is going to need to grow outside of the city in the county, which is all part of Cole County, but we grow together, and Jefferson City will grow. Russellville will grow, St. Martin's will grow, Eastern District will grow. It'll help the entire community. So as far as working on just inside Jefferson City, we've got the prison area. They're talking about the Riverport development, things like that, which that's a whole nother subject, but we need to work to see where we can grow at. Because right now, Jefferson City is kind of landlocked. Housing is phenomenal right now. We've exploded the housing market. So I would like to see where if we do grow, we grow outside of the city, and it'll help the city. And maybe that'd be an annexation probably down the road. Maybe, who knows? Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Harry, same question.
I think one very good measure of growth is the per capita income of the citizens in the area. And we're a company town, and the company is state government. And if you look at the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report that's published by our auditor at the county and the outside auditor, it will tell you that about 10 years ago we had 18,000 state jobs, and today we have about 14,000, and that's going down. It's going to be under 14. It probably is today. So we have to pay attention to the state government, though, because it's still the leading employer, probably employs more than the next 10 employers combined. And one way is with a good relationship with the governor's office. So I would not be a Western District Commissioner who calls the governor's policy stupid from the Western District Chair. I would be a commissioner who follows the governor's order to lower the flag because we've lost a Missourian. I wouldn't say, okay, that Missourian is from Southwest Missouri and Cole County doesn't care. We're going to keep the flag up here. Same with the president. When the president says, let's lower the flag to honor someone, I would say the default is to lower the flag. The default is not, we leave the flag up and we have to vote to take it down.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's talk about purchasing methods. So, Harry, the county's recently come under some criticism for using cooperative purchasing agreements rather than sealed bids from vendors for the purchase of county ambulances. How do you believe the county should handle such purchases?
I don't think it's a problem to stay with these co-op bids. Or a co-op, it's actually almost like going to a catalog and seeing what the listed price is from over here and make a comparison. But no matter whether you use a bid or the co-op approach, you have to follow state law. And the commission did not follow state law with the purchase of the first two ambulances. And I went to actually they didn't follow it with the second two ambulances after the tornado. And when I went to the county counselor and say, why didn't you follow the law? Her response to me is, what law? Therefore, they thought they could fix this with a 14-word amendment to their purchasing policy. There is an exception in state law, but you have to develop a formal written program. It took the commission 28 seconds to adopt a 14-word amendment to their purchasing policy, and they now claim they have a formal written program. I dispute that. I say that is not a formal written program, and they subsequently bought 3 more ambulances from Canada. They have just run roughshod over the state statute and have even said, well, there's no penalty for violating the state statute, so what's the problem?
So a follow-up question, so what would be the proper approach for a formal policy?
Well, it's certainly more than 14 words, and the 14 words say Cole County encourages the purchase of the domestic products. Well, if you just say it, but you don't give an encouragement, like a bonus, better conditions, whatever, you just can't say Cole County encourages, and then not encourage. That's the problem.
Okay. Thank you, Harry. Gary, same question.
Repeat the question, please.
Sure. The county's recently come under some criticism for using cooperative pricing purchasing agreements rather than sealed bids from vendors. How do you believe the county should handle such purchases?
From my understanding, any purchase made over $3,000 has to go out to bid. If they get a bid for one vehicle and they accept that bid, which I do agree they should be bought locally or at least American-made, because Osage County supports our tax base. They're our neighbors, they're our friends. They do work here, and they do support Cole County. But as far as, say, the second, third, fourth ambulance, whatever it was, each one of them should have been put out to bid individually. It should not have been rolled over into that first existing bid. I wasn't at the chamber meeting, or at the council meetings, the commission meetings where they voted for it, but I do believe that they should have put each individual ambulance up to bid, and I would support American-made.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Next question, we're going to talk about some gravel roads. So Gary, in a News Tribune story, you noted that Cole County has 158 miles of gravel roads, and nearly all of them are in the Western District. Do you perceive this to be a problem, and why or why not?
A lot of the people that I've talked to want to know why Western Side has so many gravel roads versus Taos, Wardsville area. I've talked to the directors of Road and Bridge, and past commissioners had taken care of that. There's an issue on the road that I live on, Murphy's Ford, with a low water slab, and we have issues there with people on weekends trashing and doing things like that. So as far as the road and bridge issues, I would honestly, with the money that the county's doing, they're graveling the road, or blacktopping the gravel road out there now. They're doing one of the roads real close to where I live. They're going to work in Westview Heights after they get stormwater done. That's another issue. So when they are working out there, but I won't make any, and I told people, I said I won't make any promises you'll get a gravel road blacktopped, because the Road and Bridge has their hands full with trying to keep up with maintenance and everything they have. So as far as why is there more gravel roads on the west side than the east, I can't answer that. That's before my time. I would like to see everything blacktopped in time, but I will not say that that's going to happen, because with the funding that we have, our directors of Road and Bridge are doing a very good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Harry, same question.
It's my understanding that there is an objective standard as to whether or not a road should be paved, and it's based upon volume of vehicles that use that road. So therefore, it's may not be fair to say that one side of the county has been mistreated versus the other side of the county. They do the vehicle counts. If the vehicle counts are not there, it hasn't met the objective standard of needing to be paved. And the county doesn't have enough money to pave every road or every private drive if there's only one person down or two people down that end of that road. So if you like the seclusion of being at the end of the road, it may come with a cost, and that might be the cost of gravel and a dirty car.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Next question, we'll go with Harry. In a News Tribune story, you noted the county will be facing some space issues with the addition of a new associate circuit judge. What would be your proposed solution for the space issues the county will face with this new courtroom?
I believe, ultimately we're going to need the new courtroom, and it probably should have been planned a little quicker than it's turning out. We knew this new judge was coming for some time. It would be nice to be able to retrofit the old jail, not lose the historical significance of the facade. There are issues there with the floor, can it handle it? Does it have to be torn from the inside out, but let the street view be the same? I'm sure the historical society of Jefferson City would be very upset to see that thing gone, and many citizens would feel the same way. And I think the courtrooms all have to be basically in one area, because if you move it to another building, you have a whole new set of security folks that you have to have over there because of the tight security that's involved with the courtroom. So they're going to have to be consolidated to be efficiently managed security-wise, instead of having a double staff, which is an outside firm that we contract with, and that's expensive, so let's not double the cost to have a courtroom in a different building.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Same question, Gary.
The county owns the building across the street on Adams Street that they bought, they've gutted it, they want to remodel it. That would be one place they could go. They own the building on Industrial Drive where the health department used to be. To my knowledge, if it hasn't sold, it may, as far as I knew, it hadn't sold. They've got room in possibly the jail where they can make more room. So we have the buildings to facilitate everything. It's just going to be a lot of movement and how to fund that. How to fund, in the budget, they had $1.5 million in the budget to renovate the building on Adams Street. I think that was an honest guess. I don't think that was an actual bid, so I don't know if they could do it for that, but if they have the building on Industrial Drive, they can move some offices out there. Alleviate some of the tension of the downtown traffic. It's still in Jeff City. It's still in the area. It might benefit. Our driver's license bureau moved from where it was at, and it's on the east end now. So, I mean, people will go where that office is to get whatever it is they need. Now, I'm not saying put the courthouses out there. I think the courthouses need to be downtown. They need to be close to the jail for the sheriff's department, for the jailers to transport inmates and things like that. But as far as the other buildings we have, we need to utilize them instead of letting them sit there and not do anything with. How to fund it, I don't know yet.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Next question. So, Gary, what is the biggest challenge facing Cole County in the next year?
With the COVID-19, a lot of it is going to be with our sheriff's department funding and our health department. I think those are two of the big things we need to do. Road and Bridge is kind of a well-oiled machine. They maintain, they run. The sheriff has 8 spots open in the jail that he needs to fill. Purchasing cars, buying vehicles, things like that. Our health department, with everything going on, how much expense will they incur over all this? They really haven't said. They haven't said what it's going to cost. They're doing what they need to do, but on the backside, there's going to be a budget that's going to increase somewhere because of this, because they're going to have to maintain, keep up with everything that's going on. So as far as the issues with everything, I think the Sheriff's Department and the Health Department, and I think EMS needs to be looked into for several different reasons. Just because of things now with some animosity in that department, I think that the EMS needs to be looked at. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Same question, Harry.
We don't know what we don't know, and we don't know what this COVID situation is going to turn into. We know that there's $9.2 million that's been put on the table here for the Cole County to allocate out and distribute out. We don't know how much each school is going to need. We don't know how much each library is going to need. And we don't know how to administer that. So the commission has done the right thing by contracting with professionals. I believe the firm of BKB has been selected, so that in a couple of years after the feds come back and say, how did you spend your money? Oh, you made a mistake there. We want that back. We can't allow that to happen. So I would say that the COVID-19 is the biggest thing, and it's also the most unknown thing. We've had a change because of the Supreme Court in the pretrial release. It's changed the way we handle defendants or accused individuals, and we have to respond to that. The folks who run the pretrial release here might be understaffed because of that, and there's going to be a friction between the sheriff's office and the pretrial, because actually the folks that leave the jail because of pretrial open up a bed, and perhaps that bed can be filled with a federal prisoner, and the sheriff can make money on housing a federal prisoner. So we'll look at that. Back to the real estate, I think we have to have a really solid long-term plan for the use of the existing property, and maybe we have surplus property that it's time to move it and let the public take a shot at it. Those are the things I see that we are in front of us right now.
All right, thank you, Harry. Next question, we'll start with Harry. We're going to talk about budgeting. So in a News Tribune story, you said you'd like to encourage residents to be more involved in the budget process. What would that look like?
Well, it would look like a full room of people on occasion, maybe when they're telling, the schedule is there. I watched it day after day, and for instance, when we're going to talk about the juvenile budget next. I would hope that people who have touched that, either through a family member or whatever, will show up and say, you know, you guys need to think about X, or people whose family maybe have visited the Sheriff Wheeler Hotel when it comes time for the sheriff's budget. They show up and say, I don't like the way the canteen fund is run. I don't like how much it costs to make a phone call out of the jail, because we're already broke, and now there's an outside firm who says they'll furnish the telephone, but they're really raping the prisoners with these exorbitant fees to have the family fill up the inmates' canteen fund. You have to drill into these things one at a time, and if people would pay more attention to where they've experienced problems with the county and show up and share those experiences with the commission, I think it would be helpful to the county as a whole and all those people who've been impacted, perhaps unfairly in times.
Okay, thank you. So Gary, should residents be more involved in the county's budget process? If so, how? If not, why not?
I think the county residents are involved, and the way I think that is by the person they elect. The person they elect is the person that they want to speak for them, because they will call, they will write, they'll see you at a coffee shop, at a restaurant, at a gas station, and they're going to tell you how they feel. Now, the person that's voting, the commissioner that's voting, should not vote just however he feels, because he is representing, well, honestly, the Western District represents all of Cole County, even though it is Western District. The Eastern and Western vote on the entire county, so that part is is an open book. And I think the person that they elect is kind of their voice. And that's what I want to be, is the voice for those people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gary. So both of you, in your answers in that regard, I mean, it raises a question for me. What do you perceive the job is? Is it a full-time job? How much of the time should you be out in the community versus in the courthouse? So we'll start with Gary.
It's a full-time job. And it should be a full-time job. It shouldn't be show up in the morning, work 2 hours, and then leave and go work another job. That's why I said earlier, this race hinges a lot on what I will do as far as a heating and cooling company. If I win, then that's probably going to go by the wayside. I feel that it is a full-time job. County residents deserve someone to represent them all the time. It's a paid position. The road and bridge guys work all day, guys and women, they work all day. EMS works all day. Printer Center works all day. Our commissioners should work all day. I think that it is a full-time job. And you're on the call 24 hours a day, because when you're out, people talk to you. It doesn't matter where you go. Somebody will corner you or talk to you and say, I have something I want to say, or I have a problem with this. So I do think it is a full-time job.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Harry, same question.
I think it is a full-time job, or very nearly one, but it may not have regular hours. It's not an 8 to 5 job. So you have to have the time, and you have to have the ability to go early and stay late, and maybe adapt to whatever the schedule is required. Our current Western District Commissioner has a construction company. He has a hauling company. He has a lawn waste company. He has 2 rental LLCs. I can see why he doesn't have enough time to devote to the job. And then he's managed to backdoor 2 of those companies into the existing contract for the improvement of the site improvement up there, which has led the sheriff of Cole County to write a letter to the Highway Patrol and say, we need an investigation. But back to your original question, it is the equivalent of a full-time job, but it's not an 8 to 5 job. You can't turn it off at 5 o'clock and say, call me tomorrow and I'll take your call. You have to take the call that evening.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Next question. Let's talk about broadband. How big of an issue do you believe expansion of broadband access is for Cole County? And what could you as a commissioner do to improve broadband access?
Broadband is a huge item, and it is so frustrating to sit at the computer that many of us sit by, and it just spins because you've put 2 attachments and it just can't handle it. While I was at DED, Department of Economic Development, got into the broadband. They had some responsibilities there. And the federal standard these days, it's 25 down and 10 up. This town, at this time, in this county, you might be lucky to get the speed of 5 down and 1 up. We are really backward here in this town, and I'm not sure how the businesses can operate, and I think some of the county officials will tell you that their software really doesn't spin as fast as it needs to, because we just don't have the oomph there to spin our computers at the right speed. So we have to get in there and mix it up with the other communities that are standing in line for the federal dollars that have been sent to the state and now are being divvied out. There's all kinds of grants available, and we need to be right at the front of the line. We should be, because we can get there quicker than anybody else can to the DED office at 301 West High Street.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Gary, same question.
With schools now going back and kids learning at home, using their computers or iPads, things like that, is a big issue. For example, today was an issue for me trying to work off my computer at home this morning. So if we could team up with the small communities in Jefferson City, Jefferson City, Russellville, and St. Martin's, they're all cities in Cole County, but work with the schools and see if we can get some kind of a grant and work that to benefit Cole County, because with the schools possibly not going back in the fall, might be something available that we could expand and grow the broadband. As far as paying for it out of the county budget, I can't answer that. I don't know. I don't think it's feasible right now because I think it's a big expense. I do think that we work together, we could probably get something to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next question, we'll start with Gary. So let's assume, Gary, you win in August, you win in November, take office in January. Your first 90 days, I'll give you a little bit of time there. First 90 days, what is on your wish list to achieve in those first 90 days?
First 90 days, I would like to go around and meet with all the directors of all the offices that are associated with the Cole County as far as the funding that the Cole County Commissioner supplies money to, which the Cole County Commission doesn't supply the money, the taxpayers supply the money, but the Commissioner is one that regulates and figures out how to give it to them. So I would like to meet with the directors of all these organizations and see what their wish list is, what they need, what they have wanted but they haven't received. How can we fund this? I do think there's going to be a shortfall of money somewhere with the COVID, and it's not going to be easy trying to figure out what not to fund. Every department is important. The Premier Center, the jail, all the judges that I've listened to, they keep saying we need to put, we need to arrest inmates, lock them up. Let's clean the streets up. Well, if we don't have jailers, how are we going to do that? We have to find jailers. That costs money. That takes money to feed all of them and house and do everything. Basically, back in the day, it was called Bay Center Hotel, but I mean, it's not a hotel. It's a nasty place to be. You don't want to be in jail. But if we have to put them in jail to protect our streets, we need to make sure that that happens. Road and Bridge, we need to see what's going to happen there. There's some low water crossings that need to be looked at. Not saying that it's going to happen. They need to be looked at. At least give the people the satisfaction of knowing that you care enough to go out and look at what their issues are and see what they need. EMS, we've got, like Harry said earlier, we've got I think Harry did, I don't know, I apologize for that if I spoke wrong, but we've got a director that lives outside in another town. So is that an issue? Some people think it is. I don't know. It would be something I would need to look at. Thank you.
Okay. Harry, same question.
I think in the first 90 days, I'd first get to the auditor and the internal accountant and say, do you see a train wreck coming? Are we okay? Do we have to do some adjusting? Now, if we enter a new budget starting January 1, it'll be okayed or adopted around January 15th under state law, but it'll be pretty much put together by 12/31. So I think awareness of an impending train wreck would be the first thing. I would look to see, clean up our purchasing policy and live by our own purchasing policy as well as state law. Let's get that behind us, that there's no question that our purchasing policy, we follow our own and we also follow state law. The personnel policy, we do not consistently enforce the personnel policy. The personnel policy says all directors who are hired are selected from a slate of candidates with Cole County residents given a preference. We have hired a director when there were no other candidates. The personnel policy also says all directors must reside in Cole County within 6 months of being employed. We have a director who lives in St. Charles County, over 100 miles away. He has been employed for about 26 months. Other directors who would like to buy their piece of heaven of 11 acres in Callaway County can't do it because the policy says no. However, in another case, it's okay to live 100 miles away. I think you have to consistently apply the personnel policy across over every department that the county has. And finally, we're a sales tax finance county. Now some of it, if for instance, if we're going down, we can stop our capital improvements because we just don't have that money. But we need to keep the jail running. We need to keep the county running. And if we're a sales tax driven county, we've got to be careful.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to have our closing statements at this time, so we'll begin with Harry.
First of all, thanks for this opportunity, and I hope the residents take advantage of it by watching it now, later, and over again. I think the qualifications for a Western District Commissioner or any commissioner consist of the following things. Education, I've got it. I'm a CPA. I have a degree in accounting from the University of Missouri. Experience. I've got a lot of experience, not only in the private sector, but in the public sector as well. My duty at the State Auditor's Office, I was the deputy. The actual auditor was not a CPA, so he really pushed a lot of things to me, and I'm glad he did, because it gave me a lot of experience there. I think the candidate has to have a lot of time. He has to have the time. He can't be impeded by other business interests that he has going. He has to have the desire. And one way to measure the desire is how successful they've been in raising money, and I've been very successful because I've worked hard at it and had over 225 contributors on the last report.
Thank you, Harry. Gary, same question. Closing statement?
I think the commissioner is a person that needs to be able to listen to a person that lives in the city in a huge house, or a person that lives in the county that may live in a mobile home or on a farm or anywhere. And I feel that I could be the voice that would be the one to represent basically everyone in Cole County. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to work for them. I want this job. I want to be the commissioner for Cole County Western District. Thank you.
Thank you. So, gentlemen, thank you for participating tonight. I would encourage voters, we have 3 candidates again to remind, seeking this office. I would encourage you to get out and vote to shape who you want to represent you in the Western District. So please come out and vote on August 4th in the primary election. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll begin again with our assessor candidates. Thank you, Harry.
Ready to go again? up things, please. Big one. Yeah, I was pulling it up and got up too high. I want to bet.
Yes, it is Rick, Chris, Alex, and Jonathan. Yes, sir. No, that's great. We're waiting on someone. Uh-huh.
Very good, thank you.
Yep. Welcome to tonight's candidate forum for Cole County Assessor. Prior to tonight, the candidates will advise the rules of the forum. They will be given 1 minute for an opening statement, and then I'll begin asking a series of questions of the candidates. So now let me introduce the candidates for tonight's forums. So to my left is Rick Prather, former Jefferson City Councilman, having served 8 years in the position. He's a part owner of Vogel Insurance Group. Seated next to him is Chris Estes, current Cole County Assessor. He was appointed in 2007 to the position and is finishing his 3rd term. Next is Alex Miller. He oversees the day-to-day operation of his family's business, Payway Feed. He's also part owner of Miller Mowing, a lawn and landscaping business. And to my far right is Jonathan Roy Myers. He's worked in real estate for more than 25 years and in the healthcare field for much of his life. So first of all, gentlemen, welcome. We'll begin with an opening statement. We drew lots beforehand to determine the order, and so we'll begin with Rick.
Well, I'm Rick Prather. I lived in Cole County majority of my life. I am married to Julie Bernstetter. I have 2 children, Courtney and Danielle, and 1 grandchild. I own Vogel Insurance for almost 20 years, and I actually am the 3rd generation owner. My father, Charles Prather, preceded me, and my grandpa, Fred Vogel, preceded him and opened it in 1947.
My dad instilled in me when I was younger that I need to be involved in community service and that I need to give back to the community. In fact, before I even moved back from Kansas City, where I went to college, he had already signed me up for the Jefferson City Jaycees. And that's where it started. And I've been involved in many organizations, including the J.C. Host Lions, the American Red Cross, and several others. And I'm just looking forward to applying my skills and getting started at the assessor's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Chris?
Hello, my name is Chris Estes. I've been your assessor for 12 years. I've got over 500 hours of assessor training. I spent almost 20 years in law enforcement, another 10 years.
Hang on a second. Is your microphone on? I'm having a hard time hearing you. Okay, all right.
Get up a little bit.
There you go.
How's that?
That's better.
My name is Chris Estes. I was born and raised here in Jeff City. I've been your county assessor for 12 years. I've got over 500 hours of training as an assessor.
They still can't hear you. Can you tap it again?
Tap the top of the microphone.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Rick.
Okay, sorry about that. So, Chris?
How's this? That sound better? All right, you got me
All right,
now.
we're good.
Okay. Again, my name is Chris Estes. I was born and raised here in Jeff City. My wife was born and raised here. My children live here. My grandchildren live here. My parents live here. My mom told me that once upon a time that her family was farming the area of Emerald Ridge back in the 1860s. So I'm a local hometown boy. I've been a law enforcement officer for approximately 20 years. I was in construction trades for about 10 years. My philosophy about serving the public or elected officers is that it's our responsibility to make sure that the offices that we have serve the public, because that is the person or the entity that we work for. If we're not serving the public, we're not doing our job. I'll cut it short at that 10 seconds. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alex?
All right. My name is Alex Miller. I'm from Lowman, Missouri. I was born and raised there. I'm 24 years old. I went to Elias and also the University of Missouri. During my time at the University of Missouri, I worked at my family business and drove back and forth, so I kind of understand what hard work was, because it was long days every day, and then also started my own business during that time. Besides that, I had a lot of support from others that wanted me to step into political office, and I wasn't quite sure that it's what I wanted to do, but then after I got to looking into it, I realized it could be a good opportunity to help others, but also a difficult time to help others, and that's what I'd like to step into, and I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Jonathan?
Hello, my name is Jonathan Roy Myers. I am not originally from Jefferson City, but that being said, having lived in other great places like New York, Georgia, and Florida, Mid-Missouri is now my home for over 4 years, and I absolutely love it here. I have an interest in the job because I feel I could reach out to the community, provide fairness and equitable outcomes for people in different situations. I realize that up-and-coming health issues may be involved in all government areas, and I believe that I can bring that knowledge base that I've had for over 25 years in the private sector to the public sector and serve this community effectively.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. Okay, so we're going to jump into questions. I'm going to do this as a reminder. Make sure the microphone is close to your face so that you can be heard. Again, that's the goal of this, so the voters will have a clear understanding of who you are and where you stand on the issues. Okay? All right, so first question goes to Chris. The field of assessor is not something any of you went to school for as younger men. Your previous work experience isn't necessarily in the same field of study. So why are ye uniquely qualified to be Cole County Assessor?
That's an excellent question. Gary, thank you and the paper for having this forum. I think it's great to be able to get to know the candidates ahead of time. Being the assessor is a lot like being a police officer. You have a set of statutes and court decisions and rulings that it's your responsibility to apply to the public in a fair and equal manner. So when we set a value on a property, we use every piece of information we have available to us. So the next time we set a value on a property, we use the same steps to make sure that everybody is treated fairly and equally. The years of law enforcement have also given me the ability to read and apply state statute. And something that the assessor deals with a lot is tax exemptions. That's a very convoluted trail, and it's not something that you learn overnight. To be able to step into the position of assessor takes a specific background, and I believe I have that background. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Alex, same question.
Yes. My background doesn't necessarily qualify me for the job. You're correct. I think that the learning curve is where I will make up for that. Through hard work and years of school and hard work and dealing with people every day, because I am in retail, and then I'm also going out looking for customers, I'm used to working with people. To make stuff work, to make fair assessments, and to also do my job would be hand in hand. So if I can go in, step into this office, and do what I can to look for waste, and also to serve everybody that's there, I'll try my best. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan, same question.
With regard to the position, I believe everybody on this platform here is qualified. That being said, I believe that I offer a skill set that is beyond others. It will offer the talent that is needed in this office as we go into relocation for the facility, evaluating equipment, understanding employee morale and addressing that, and most importantly, dealing with the public so that they're satisfied because they must pay valuation tax. With the storms, the flood, events we've had, the whole landscape is changing. It's time for a new set of eyes. Everything seems to be running fine. It's time for new talent, new set of eyes. I'm that person.
Thank you. Rick, same question.
Well, I feel with my educational background and my experience, I have a BSBA in Finance Economics and MBA with Accounting and Management focus, and 5 years as an Assistant Controller. Not counting my 24 years of running a business, a very successful business. But in those 20-plus years, I've had the opportunity to value residential and commercial properties. And that's not all the assessor does, obviously. It's a part of it. And my management ability to work with others, to have employees, to team building, and and also my experience on the council, putting aside, we were all equals, putting aside our differences, we were able to get things accomplished. And we didn't always agree with each other, but after that, we would shake hands and move on. We did what was best for the city at that time, and that's why I feel like I'm qualified to be assessor.
Thank you. Okay, so next question will go with Alex. So write me a job description for what the assessor does, what you believe the role of the assessor is from your perspective.
From my perspective, from the outside looking in, an assessor assesses real estate property and personal property. There's more to it than that, but that in general, that would be my description of it. They set a, not necessarily tax basis, but a basis of how much would be paid on taxes on that property. If I can step into the job, I would have a big learning curve also to figure out exactly what everything is involved, because I have not served in office before, so I don't know exactly what I'm going to be stepping into. I'd just like to bring a fresh face to it because I am not privy to the information of what the assessor does completely. So that's all I can say.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan?
Okay. The assessor's job involves mass appraisal, where all the properties have to be evaluated, and then individual properties. With regard to the office, there needs to be some type of a format for customer satisfaction or taxpayer satisfaction, where they can address issues that they feel alter the value of their property. Most people want the property to be lower taxed. People will not come in most likely saying, please raise my tax. The taxes are so important to the vitality of our community, but it has to be fair and equitable. Taxes are required, assessments are required. Therefore, we need to have the most harmonious, non-controversial leader in this position. It's time for new talent. It's time to move forward into the next generation, addressing the healthcare concerns, addressing the condition of the office equipment, addressing personnel, providing easier ways for people to pay their taxes, and make the whole office work smoother and more efficiently going into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick, same question.
All right, well, simply put, the assessor would need to administrate over the property tax process. Also, they would need to administrate over the real estate property tax for the County of Cole and evaluation thereof. They would also need to understand the statutes and apply them appropriately. They not only do that, but they administer over their employees. They have a staff that they hopefully create a harmonious environment for them and healthy environment. And then also day-to-day activities would also include working with the county clerk, disseminating information back and forth, and also a good relationship with the county collector, because they should work hand in hand. I just think that those are the keys, and I think that you need to work well with others and put aside differences, and the basic thing is to also go over and make sure that you have a staff that understands what they're doing. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Chris?
Well, I would say the first thing that you need to do is you need to be able to hire and supervise employees. When I took over the assessor's office, there were 11 employees. Currently today, I still have 4 of those employees in the office. 3 of the employees, or 3 of the 11, left the office through retirement. So I have the skills to maintain and retain the qualified people that is needed to run the office. The assessor's job is to view and interpret the local market, local housing market, and how things are progressing with that. You have to, in everything you do, assure quality. You have to communicate with citizens. You participate in court hearings and speak in depositions. I've done that probably half a dozen times. We've currently got several large court cases going. If you look in CaseNet, you'll see that I've been sued about 15 or 20 times as the assessor. It's not a very popular position. In all deference to my opponent, he spoke about his insurance valuation of property. Valuing property for insurance purposes is not the same thing as valuing property for taxation. My father-in-law passed away now. He was an insurance agent, and he was quite good at it. But it's not the same thing. When my wife and I purchased our most recent home, our insurance told us that it would take $1.5 million to replace that house. Now, believe me, the assessor doesn't make enough money to have a $1.5 million house. So, obviously, we left that company and went with another one. Finally, we reached a reasonable number to put on the house, and it was much, much, much less. I can promise you that. So it's not the same thing when you're valuing for insurance purposes and you're valuing for assessment purposes. Most of all, the assessor's got to be just about everything to everybody. And the biggest thing is to be courteous.
Okay. Jonathan, the assessor's job is classified as a full-time job. How many hours a week will you be in the office, and what will be your role in the office? In other words, how much of the work that is done will be touched by you versus the staff?
I will take a full-on hands position. The job requires 40 hours a week. I do 40 hours or more. If there are certain exceptions due to at-home or remote work employment, due to healthcare concerns and upcoming times, which we do not know about, we will record those hours effectively, properly, and legally.
Thank you. Rick, same question.
Well, if it's 40, 50, 60 hours a week, whatever it takes, I'll be in a position where I'll be able to dedicate that time. On a daily basis, yes, to supervise your employees and make sure that they're doing what they need to be doing, and also working with the other county officers, in the county clerk and the county collector especially, and making sure that the information they need is getting to them and the information you need is getting to you. So supervising the employees, and I'm willing to get my hands dirty. I plan on learning a lot as far as appraising and taking any tests that are required, and I'm willing to do so. So, yes, many hours that you think it would take, 40, 50, 60 hours, well, I'll be there.
Okay, thank you. Chris?
I'd like to borrow the statement of Judge Green last night. The job of an elected official is not a 9 to 5, it's not a 8 to 4, it's a 24/7 job. Just last night during the forum you had last night, I was exchanging emails with the presiding commissioner in reference to an issue we have going on. There's no time that you're not spending as the assessor in this job. The first 3 years I was in the office, I worked 60 to 70 hours every week, didn't take a vacation for 3 years. Now, luckily, I've been able to get things under control, know the job, so it doesn't take as many hours as it used to. But the assessor's job is not all sitting at a desk being in the office. We've got property that has to be, viewed out in the field, whether it be personal property or whether it be residential, commercial, or other. So you don't get to say, well, I'm going to work 8 to 5, or well, I'm going to work 8 to 6, whatever. You have to work whenever you need it. And some days you're going to put in 12 and 14 hours. Some days you're only going to have to put in 6 hours. Those are very rare, though, I can tell you that. Now, there was a time period that I was out of the office for an extended period, but that was when I was diagnosed with cancer and treated for that. Had 2 other surgeries in late 2018 and early 2019. But so far, so good. We've recovered from all those things, and everything is running well. I would say that I've been accused of not getting along with people sometimes, and I can promise you that I'll get along with anybody unless they're trying to circumvent the law or do something that's not legal or treat somebody differently. Then I will not get along with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex?
Yes, I think it is more than a full-time job. To somebody to be in office, you have to be able to take a phone call, take an email at any time of the day or night, and be available for the community because that's who you're serving. I'll be there for anybody at any given time that I need to be. I know there's times when you'll be out on the road, there's times that you'll be in office, and I'll try my best to do both at the same time. And I will step away from my businesses that I'm involved with now to take the time to do what I need to get the assessor's job done and done correctly. So yes, it is definitely a full-time job. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next question, we'll start with Rick. The assessor is part of a team of county government officials, but it's also independently elected. How do you see the assessor's role in that county government team, and what challenges do you believe you might face as a county assessor on that team?
Well, every county is a little bit different, and as an assessor, you need to be flexible. And if you're working with another county, you guys, they just need to, I would say, work out their differences. As far as what I would do, can you repeat the question again?
Sure. How do you see the assessor's role in that county government team, and what challenges do you believe you might face as a county assessor?
Well, the assessors have a rating program that they use to rate, and I guess every county does it a little bit different. But, sharing information back and forth between assessors would help you gain knowledge on how to efficiently, effectively run your office. And, sharing that information could also help them. So, thank you.
Thank you. Chris, same question.
Could you repeat it, please?
Yes. The assessor is part of a team of county government officials, but it's also independently elected. How do you see the assessor's role in that county government team, and what challenges do you believe you might face as a county assessor on that team?
The function of a county assessor is vital. The county assessor, in the review of the property in the county, sets the county value. That value is in turn set as an assessed rate, whether it be commercial at 32%, or residential at 19%, or agricultural at 12%. That creates a number that goes to all the taxing entities throughout the county, and those taxing entities then decide what levy amount they need to put into that to receive the amount of funds they need to operate every year. So if the assessor's not doing the job right, if the assessor's not accurate, then you're not going to have accurate taxes. You're going to have one portion, perhaps the commercial group, paying more than they should be, or vice versa. You'll have the agricultural group, I'm sorry, not the agricultural, the residential. Agricultural values are set by the state, by the way. So I don't get to say anything about those. But if you don't have this totally correct, then you're doing a disservice to the county, as I think somebody put it to me once. For the last 12 years, Cole County has been in the top 4 most accurate, and occasionally the #1 most accurate county in the state of Missouri, based on the ratio studies done by the State Tax Commission. Now, I know that I've talked about that before. I talked about it at the last election. We were 8 years. Well, now we're at 12 years. And just recently, the Tax Commission has started doing reviews on commercial property. We are also #1 in commercial property accuracy. The communication with the other offices, you have to do the best you can to work with people. Try to get past your differences and understand that both persons have an opinion or a point of view, and try to work through that. Thank you.
Okay. Alex?
Do you mind repeating the question?
The assessor is part of a team of county government officials, but is also independently elected. How do you see the assessor's role in that county government team, and what challenges do you believe you might face as a county assessor?
I would see it as a well-oiled machine. It should all work together. If one entity of the taxation system is going to work with the other, they have to work with the other, otherwise it's just not going to work. I think the challenges would be working with people and making sure that the assessments are correct and don't cause a stir with other people, because if you do, there's going to be, the assessments are going to be off, people are going to be taxed at different rates, and nobody's going to be happy in the county. And I think that that's a big, the morale of the county with the assessor is a big aspect to the job, and I think that's the big takeaway from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan?
Thank you. With regard to a team of officials and the assessor's role, I think the key part is do not emphasize differences, but work on similarities and things that are agreed upon. Everybody has differences. Calling them out is not essential. Working together to bring the team for the benefit of the county, money-wise, is essential. Any waste equals lost money. The challenge is to maintain communication, positive interaction, and availability. Any of the other people call, we work on seamless integration with the clerk and the collector. If there's court hearings, we stay on schedule and target. If we need professional counsel on that, we consult. Perform the job at hand. It is a good job. It's not an extremely complicated job. It's an important and tedious job, and that's why we have to pick somebody who's ready to bring us into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take another run at this question from a different perspective. So the office is independently elected. However, much of the budget is controlled by the county commission. So at times in the past 10 years, let's say, there have been points of contention between the assessor's office and the county commission office, sometimes involving lawsuits. So what's the fix here for this, that county government can work better together?
Well, that's a really good one to talk about. I can tell you, here in the state of Missouri, we have a different situation than is any other county in the state of Missouri. In Cole County, the finance department is underneath the county commission. Now, let me repeat that. The finance department is controlled by or works for the county commission. In every other state, or every other county in this state, the finance department is supposed to be under the county clerk. In our county, it's not. So that means that the county commissioners who set the budget are also the ones that decide how the budget money is spent. So that gives them total spending control of everything in the county. It has gotten to the point that the office holders are basically taking instructions from the county commissioners. So we have to take every purchase that we have and go to the county commissioners and say, will you authorize this? Will you authorize this? Even though we have a budget that's set. I set a budget every year accurately and completely. On September 1st, it goes to the county auditor. The county auditor makes changes in it and recommendations. The budget then goes to the county commissioners, who also review it and make changes. In the last 4 years, there have been several funds cut in my budget. But what we've found over the course of the year, the county commissioners have to keep putting additional funds into those line items because the regular expenses that the assessor has are not being covered. And the amount that they end up putting in by the end of the year is the amount that I budgeted at the beginning of that time period. Thank you.
Okay. Alex, same question.
Kind of going off of that, I would say that I would have to work with my county commissioners, depending who it is, to actually form a budget prior to it. If you don't have a little conversation before, there's going to be budget cuts that you weren't expecting. There's going to be no coalition between all the county government, and it causes kind of a headache, I think, in the end of the day, from just nobody getting along or not understanding, like, the actual budget in the end, and then having to go back and pay for line items that they didn't expect. And that's about all I can actually say about it, because I don't know actually the position.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan?
Again, the key here would be communication, developing relationships, so expectations are met, so that problems are taken care of before they arise. Obviously, financial arrangements that are made through the county, they have to be satisfied through the assessor's office. This is a very pivotal position in the county. We are one of the strongest counties in the entire state. This is a big job, and it has to be integrated with all team players. Obviously, we have some new people vying for this position, and everybody will get the proper training that they need if they move forward. So, just in the same light, I will get that training, I will work hard, I will work towards learning this position as soon as I win this race. And we have a year to get up to speed, because the position does not begin until September, my understanding. We'll get that job done, and we'll do it right, and we'll follow the rules, follow the statutes, and we'll interact professionally and use communication such as email, telephonic, and personal interaction to make sure that our relationship with the county, our office, works well with them, and we'll keep any kind of extraneous things to a minimum. Stick with the program, stick with the agenda.
Thank you. Rick?
We're in business for the past 20-plus years. I've had to set my own budget and abide by it. I just can't stress the importance of actually going to a budget meeting. As budget chair for the city, I was budget chair for several years, we had very thorough conversations with the department heads, and we thoroughly discussed. Sometimes it's painful, but you have to attend those meetings. And my understanding is the current assessor was unable to attend the last meeting, so it makes it kind of difficult to explain why you need money and where you need it at. You have to be a part of the entire process. And with my background, I feel like I would be able to not only provide an accurate budget, but work with the commissioners and making sure that it's okay with them too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary, may I redirect, please?
Chris?
I think Mr. Prather's talking about the year before that the assessor wasn't able to appear at the budget hearings. The assessor was actually recovering from surgery at that time. And Mr. Miller said that this is what you need to do and communicate with your county commissioners. Every year, there's a scheduled time that all elected officials and department heads meet with the county commission and open the commission hearing to discuss the budget. For the last 4 years, whenever we've gone to discuss this matter, we let the commissioners know of any changes that we've talked about or thought of that we need in the office, any place that the budget has changed from the previous year. Every year, the commissioners have no questions, not one question on the budget. Thank you.
Okay. All right, next question. We'll start with Alex. From your perspective, rate the performance of the current assessor's office, and where do you see opportunities for improvement?
As Mr. Estes said, sounds like the office is pretty accurate, but the improvements that I think I can make is in the budget. If we could do a little better job with that, I think that would be the number one key for me. And if there's waste in anywhere that I could find it, be it computer systems or the buildings or even lighting that could shut off at night, I mean, to save a little bit of money, that's the main key items I could see without being in office to tell you that I could do. And also, if I can go out in the county and help people save a little bit on their assessment, if it's been reassessed, if it hasn't been reassessed for a while or reassessed wrong, I'd like to do the best I could for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan?
I don't see that there's any particular problem necessarily right now with anybody's role in their office. What I see is it's a new election cycle, and we have new people interested in some of the improvements that could be brought to the office. Are new people offering new insights? What would happen? Well, we're looking at equipment. What is the age of the equipment that we have there? What is the projection of that? How about the office? I'm understanding there's a possibility of a move. That'll be a very big move. That could be extremely costly. Will it be cost effective? Other things such as facility, making sure that cleanliness is so important right now with regard to the state of affairs we're in, whether it's changing AC ducts or making sure people walk in and the pencils are clean, has to be now. So cleanliness, efficiency, and not sterile, but extremely clean and shows well. Needs to be clean. People need to feel comfortable when they touch surfaces and they come in. Parking needs to be pretty good. It's a little tough to park around there. A few improvements could be made. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick?
I've heard good things about the staff. In talking with some of the county officials, one of the issues seems to be communication and accessibility to the assessor, and responding to phone calls or emails. It's just important that, communication is key to effectively and efficiently run government, and it helps to put aside differences to get a common goal, to achieve a common goal as a team. Also, being fiscally responsible, not overspending your budget or not spending frivolously on any, just being fiscally responsible to the constituents. It's the taxpayers' money, not ours. So those are a couple things that I think we could improve upon in the assessor's office.
Thank you. Chris?
Well, let's first tackle the issue of cleanliness and the AC filters and such in the assessor's office.
Chris, let's answer the question first,
Okay.
I asked you to rate the performance of the assessor's office, and where do you see opportunities for improvement?
The opportunity for improvement would to be the county commission giving more control of the assessor's office back to the assessor. The biggest difficulty we're dealing with right now, other than the software the commissioners have picked for us, is the lack of qualified applicants. The national and the state appraisal commission have changed the requirements for residential and general certified appraisers to having a 4-year degree before you can even start working on an appraisal license. So that means that you're going to put in 4 years in college, and then you're going to put another 3 years in training as an appraiser before you can be certified as an appraiser. So most people are not going to go to college to come out and spend another 2 years in training and take a job making about $40,000 a year. So that's probably one of the biggest problems that we're looking at right now. I know that the cleanliness was mentioned, and all of those things are out of the assessor's control. The maintenance people take care of those things. The parking situation is all the county commissioners. The assessor doesn't decide where he goes, where he parks, where his office is. That's all decided by the county commissioners. And frugality, I'd like to point out that the finances of the office are in a lot better shape than what anybody knows. When I took over the office, there was approximately $570,000 in the assessment fund. Now, real quick, the assessment fund is a fund that was set up by the legislature to fund the operation of the assessor's office. In Coke County, we're lucky enough that that funds every process that we do. We take no general revenue whatsoever, and have not since I've been in the office. So,
Chris, let me interrupt you for a minute. So you can say all this in the closing statements, if you don't mind. Let's stick with the question. So the question was what you see areas of improvement.
Right.
So I'm not seeing how that answers that question. What are areas of improvement that you can make in your office if you're elected to another term?
Well, as I said, the availability of qualified applicants is the biggest thing, and more control to the actual assessor. And I thought that we had the opportunity to rebut things that were said by others. Wasn't that one of the rules?
It was, and you addressed the sanitation and the parking,
Okay.
so
I'd like to talk to the budget real quick. When I took over the office, we had about
I'll ask you just
$570,000.
save that for your closing statement, okay?
Okay.
That's not a question that I've asked any of the other candidates, and in fairness to them, we're going to stick to the format, okay?
Okay.
All right, so we are at the point of closing statements, and we're going to start with Jonathan.
Okay, thank you very much. With regard to the cleaning of the office, we understand that there's a maintenance crew. But again, those are people that are part of our team, and we must interact with them. So if there are necessities coming and arising due to healthcare issues, they need to be addressed. It has to be. I want to thank the News Tribune for having us out here today. I very much appreciate an opportunity to get to connect with the voters, the citizen taxpayers that are making the decision here tonight. Well, they'll be making it Tuesday, but they've been making with absentee ballots, and they've been speaking and having their voices heard. It is an elected position, it is a county position, and it is a high visibility position. It requires professionalism, dedication, and honesty. I will bring that to this position. I'll be forthright, and I will be available to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick?
I'm running for the assessor's office for one reason. I want what's best for the county, and I think we are currently being underserved by the assessor. I'm not here to tear them down. I just truly think that we need someone with the commitment and energy to get things right in the assessor's office. I have had my background valuing businesses for over 20 years, and also that I'm willing to get my hands dirty and dive in to get things right in the assessor's office. And I think I'm the best candidate. And I want to encourage everyone to get out there and vote August 4th. And I would be honored to serve as your next assessor, and I would appreciate the voters of Cole County supporting me. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
Real quick, I've been the Cole County Assessor for 12 years. During that time, we've been the most accurate office in the state of Missouri, or in the top 4 most accurate, constantly. I've retained the qualified, talented people that we have. We are having a difficulty bringing more people on board because of the rules for appraiser training anymore. On the budget issue, when I took over, the assessment fund had a surplus. I mean, at the end of the year when all the bills were paid, we had a surplus of about $570,000. Currently, the surplus that we have in the assessment fund is $1.3 million. So I've increased that by about $800,000 over the last 12 years. So we have an assessor's office that's extremely frugal with the funds they use. It takes cooperation of other offices to be able to operate any county office. The assessor's office is one of the more technical, and it takes a regular, specialized technical training to complete it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex?
I just wanted to say thank you all for having me here tonight, and then also, I don't have a lot of experience over the years from anything in particular. I'm young, but I was trying to bring a new face to the table for everybody. I haven't been in any office like many of us others have been here. I want to step into politics and government and do the best I can for the people of Cole County. I've grown up here, I love the county and love the people, and if I can serve them and do them a good job, that's my goal for being the assessor. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you for participating today on behalf of the News Tribune. I do thank you for that. I'd also like, again, to thank Jefferson City and the JCTV staff for their assistance in holding and broadcasting these forums. In addition to stories about these forums in tomorrow's News Tribune, we'll have a variety of other means by which you can become more informed about these races. We'll be asking candidates questions we didn't get to tonight. We are still taking questions from the public. You can send an email to vote@newstribune.com, and we will ask this race or any of the other races on the ballot the questions to the candidates. Lastly, we'll be publishing a voter's guide on Sunday, August 2nd. As I mentioned last night, our society is best served by an informed and active electorate. I'd encourage you as a voter to take advantage of the resources that are out there for you and then get out and vote on August 4th. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.